YouTube works. Good evening and welcome to another edition of Speaker Circle, where we're looking at growth mindsets. This evening, I have with me such a phenomenal guest, Miss Bek Antonucci. I'm going to go ahead and remove that. Good morning to you. Good evening to me.
Good morning. How are you?
Great. Well, Bek, tell our listeners exactly where you are where we're talking from, because they'll understand why I said good morning to you.
I'm in Perth, Western Australia. I did think, I was like, I should put some mascara on. I'm like, that's not the truth of me. It's 7:30 a.m. in the morning. I've been up since 4:45. There's no mascara or makeup going on right now.
Well, thank you so much for being here. We are just honored to have you. And tell us, you are just such a phenomenal, right before we even went live, you literally just took my breath away with some of these gems that you just dropped. So tell us a little bit about what your passion is, because it sounds like something that could truly change the world.
Beautiful. Thank you. So, I support women and men, but my true passion and purpose and who I speak to on the internet is women. I support women to recreate a relationship with the thing that they thought made them less than in society's eyes, whatever your thing is. So for me, it was sexual health and an STI shame that I received when I was 25. For other women, it's body image. For some people, it's their mental health. For other people, it's their relationship with their finances or their family or their parents, whatever, infidelity even. Whatever your thing is that you think made you less than, that's perhaps a little bit stigmatized or taboo to talk about. I go there with that person. We focus on why we manifested this thing and called it into our reality. We create a relationship with it, activate our voice around it, and reclaim our power.
Wow, I love that. You said manifest that. So tell me a little bit about, how did you even get to the part where you were enlightened about what things are and how we manifest things? Is it something you read this book, you had this moment, or is it just something that just came about from a lesson you learned in life?
So many moments. So like I was telling you before the call, I've had a big body image journey. And by age 25, just little, well, not even little, but bad kind of egoic bad events kept happening on a personality level where I was like, why is this happening to me? Am I attracted to drama? Why am I calling these things into my life? I had that relationship where I knew I was calling this forward. But my question was, is it me? Am I a bad person? Am I attracted to drama? And that's when I was meditating. I really created a relationship with that. And I knew that my peace was at the beach, and I lived quite close to one. And I was sitting on the beach one day thinking about, why am I attracted to drama and why do I call these bad things into my life? I'd been through 10 years of disordered eating, bulimia, laxative abuse, training for fitness competitions, basically abusing my body through obsessive fitness and dieting. I'd had a horror overseas breast surgery. Really horrific. The images are on the internet. And at age 25, I called in an STI, which was herpes, the herpes virus. And that was kind of the pinnacle of, I can't keep going like this. And now the thing that I've worked on my entire life, which was my aesthetics, my appearance, the only thing that I thought had any worth to offer in this world, my only way to exchange myself and receive love in return, I felt like that was taken from me. And I remember sitting on the beach one day thinking, like, why am I attracted to drama? Why am I calling all of this in? And I heard this voice say, you're really lucky, Rebecca, that I gave you an STI, something that's as simple as herpes, which is a skin condition. The next thing coming for you is a car accident. When are you going to start learning to love yourself and create worth for yourself as who you are as a woman, not what you look like, from within? And it was that voice that sent me in an entirely different direction.
That just gave me goosebumps, because we all have those moments in life where you have that fork in the road. Are you going to continue to go down this path, or are you going to shift gears and try to enlighten and do something different? Because the definition of insanity, right? If you keep doing what you've always done, you're going to always get what you've always gotten. So, wow.
Well, I had up until that point been tailoring and curating my life to try and get approval from the external world, which I didn't realize. I thought I was doing it for me. If I have this perfect body, Lisa will validate me. If I have this perfect body, that man will want and accept me. If I live in a nice home on the beach, people will think that I'm doing well. If I have a job title, people will think, and I didn't realize, but everything that I was doing, that I would be like, if I do this, the next sentence was, people will think, which meant that I was doing everything. Even if there was struggle or suffering, like the dieting was a horrible experience, everything that came after that, the bulimia, the binge eating, having a job that I hated but came with a job title, there was a point in my life where I said, I don't care about the struggle as long as other people think I'm doing well.
Wow.
And that was the epiphany for me. Like, I am living my entire life based on the thoughts of what others might think about me. I've lost myself in the process. I'm not living my life for me. I'm living my life for you.
That is such a profound thing to say. I know we were talking about vulnerability, and that's where it all starts, is being vulnerable, to have those conversations with yourself. And and then I'm sure people around you who love you, we have so many yes people in our lives that are like, hey, it's fine, Bek, you're great, you're doing good. What are you talking about? And then as much as they are well-intentioned, sometimes it stunts your growth. You need those in your face people that can tell you, this is not going to work. You're literally going to kill yourself by being so unhappy. So did you have that type of support system in your life, friends who just held you accountable and gave you extreme ownership? Or was it more people just coddling you along?
I think what it was, I've always been, very into my own self-leadership, and no one can tell me what to do. And so, and I believe that's really great as well. For me, it was, I'm going to immerse myself into personal development and personal growth. I found a workshop, and what actually happened at the time was I was dating this boxer, and he was going through, like I told you, the extreme body image. I shared vulnerably with him. I said, I actually go through a lot of stuff with my body image, and I have really ineffective thoughts about it. And he was amazing, attractive, fit, like, in the social world, external world's eyes, he was the perfect man. And he said, I go through my own body image stuff. And I was like, really? I would never. And I looked at him like, how? And he goes, well, it doesn't actually matter what I look like. It's what I think about how I look. And I go through the exact same thing as you. He goes, well, I used to. I went to this personal development workshop, and that helped me on my journey to loving and accepting myself. And that's where I was like, whoa, I thought that I would find love and acceptance of myself in the mirror and in your acceptance of me. And that was another perspective that I'd never heard, that, I could try personal development. I didn't even know what that world was. And through meeting him, that was the first workshop I ever went to where I got to see a different world and got to look at a different avenue and stop trying to flog the same horse and do the same thing, expecting to get a different result. And that's where I was like, wow, maybe it's not the mirror. Maybe it's not someone else accepting me. Maybe it's not the perfect boyfriend. Maybe it isn't all of these things or the great Instagram account. Maybe it's my thoughts about it. And if I was to work on that, I would actually love everything that I have. And what I have doesn't need to change, but my thought about what I have gets to change. And that's where the work really started for me.
Wow. That really made me think about one of my favorite quotes, where it's from Henry Ford. And he says, whether you think you're right or you think you're wrong, you're always right. And people forget about the power you have in your thoughts and who you're surrounding yourself with. It's like you said, with the whole having that boyfriend that introduced you to that. If you were around people who weren't about personal development, it probably would have just helped to cascade your body image issues or different things that you were feeling really vulnerable about. Now, with the process of coming out and being more coming out of the shell and really like saying, okay, this is what it is. Did you have some times where it just was really tough being vulnerable and communicating about it? Or how did you kind of power through? Like, what was your motivation? Or did you see instant results?
I had been on my healing journey and self-discovery journey for probably 6 years.
Wow.
And I knew it cognitively. I understood it. I could repeat it, but it didn't feel like all the lessons were integrating into my being. And so I kept asking, why? I've done all of this work. I've done all the courses. I've read the podcast, read the books, listened to the podcast, had the mentors. And there was one piece that I was still hiding from the world, which was my vulnerability and my shame at the time. I call it radical self-ownership now, but at the time it was my STI shame. And I thought that I could be me without sharing this piece of me with the world. And so I was like, no one needs to know this. It's unimportant. This is my stuff. I'll just share it with me and my partner. I will meet the person. He'll know about it. No one else needs to know. And for as long as I held that part of me back, I never got to be fully me. And all the lessons, they were there, but they weren't integrated into my being. And it made me feel out of alignment and incongruent. And so in the end, it got to a point where I knew there was a part of me that I got to come out of the closet about. And when it came to the point in time in which I did that, the entire belief was my entire life up until age 32, I've lived my life based on the thoughts and feelings of other people and how you might perceive me. And in this moment, even though my ego says you're going to reject me and I'm going to experience all the things that I was trying to avoid my entire life, rejection, betrayal, bullying, if I was to just claim all of me right now, even the shadow parts, even the dark parts, no matter the feedback from the external world, that's me taking my control and my power back and me choosing me first. And once I did that, it was like all the lessons fully integrated, and it was like everything landed because I chose me first. So that was really the process.
How freeing, because like you said, that's a very vulnerable spot to be in. And to your point, it's really no one's business what is going on intimately in your life, but the person that you're dealing with. So the fact that you, how did you share it? Did you actually just tell friends, or did you announce it on social media, or how did you?
I was live on Facebook. I did I decided I wasn't going to listen to I was like, if I start telling people what I'm going to do, I'm going to get people like, don't do this, or you shouldn't do that, or do it this way. I'm going to have so many opinions clouding my intuition. And so I just asked my inner guidance system, what do I need to do right here, right now? And it was, you get to share this no matter what the feedback is, which means don't ask for opinions, ask for support. So I had, in a different mastermind I was doing, I had 5 women that knew I was going to do it and were waiting online to support me through it, because I believe having a community and it's basically a cheer squad. They were there for me, but I didn't tell anyone I was doing it except for the 5 people asked for support about it. And then I went and did it, and I was just like, I'm free now. Wow. And I thought it was going to be a bigger moment than what it was. Like, it is in retrospect, in hindsight. But at the time, I think I thought that like doves would fall out of the sky, or like it was just like, oh, it's done. That thing that I'd prisoned myself in my mind for so many years, it's all over. It's done. It's set.
Wow. And there's a lot of things like that we have in our individual lives where we let it hold us back from trying to pursue that next step, that next dream, or move on from the relationship that you may be in. There might be toxic relationships you're in now, and you let things hold you prisoner and not have you get in touch with those vulnerabilities. So I tell you, that's inspiring, and I'm so proud of you. And I'm sure you've heard it, and I know you've done it for yourself, but what a great way to not only free yourself, but to free others. Because I'm sure in that moment, I'm sure the feedback was great. Have a lot of women and men reached out to you and said, you're my shero, you did this, you came out, you felt comfortable about this. Like, what has been the response moving forward with this?
I mean, it's shifted everything for me. My business at the time, I had a clothing brand, which was an activewear. I closed that down. I started my coaching business. I'm essentially channeling the same message, but I fully had the confidence to allow myself to be seen for all of me. And the feedback, I mean, my ego created so many stories. Like, bad things are going to happen. All the men from your past are going to be so mad at you. Someone's going to graffiti your house. Someone's going to keep, like, my ego went crazy. She's a great storyteller. Only amazing, great things have happened. So many women and men across the globe just reaching out with private messages of just so much conversation around their own healing and feeling free, that someone was willing to be a voice for them. And I think that's that we can all anchor back into, despite our ego being loud and creating so many stories around fear. Can we be the voice for the part of us that was once silenced in shame, and step forward in our own self-leadership and show up courageously for ourselves now as the adult version of us, because that wounded version of us still exists within, and they want us to be a voice.
Wow. I love how you said that wounded version of us is still within, and it needs us to be the voice for them. That is so powerful. Now, how do you get people to, when you're coaching them, what is like the process of self-assessment? I heard you say radical accountability, radical self-accountability.
So a lot of the work that I do is around radical self-ownership and radical accountability.
Okay.
I believe that, we create, the first step of the spiritual path is kind of awareness. Like, I am the way that I am, and I know why I'm this way. And then it's like, okay, great. What are you going to do about it? Because if you don't do anything, you're going to keep getting the same experience over and over and over again, and just be like, oh, well, I knew this was going to happen. Like, Lisa was going to be a bitch to me because I have this sister wound that I created because I was 15 and I went to this all-girls school, and of course she rejected me. It's like, well, no, Rebecca, why is this? Like, just because you have the awareness, you now need to you've got conscious aligned awareness, create conscious aligned action that will create your change in your reality. Otherwise, you're just sitting in your own self-created suffering. So we really assess where they're at in their life, man or woman. And I have 6 different pillars of coaching that I go through. My ego is a great storyteller. Yeah, I love that, Liza. I hope I'm pronouncing that correct. I go through 6 different pillars of coaching, which is vulnerability, forgiveness, body honor, standards, which
Mm.
also incorporates boundaries, creation, and self-celebration. And under each different pillar, I have so many different vehicles that we work with, really just depending on what's truly present for the person and what their unique life path has been.
Wow. And I love how you said unique life path, because vulnerability and communication for personal development is truly a customized thing. Like, it looks different for everyone. It lands different for everyone. And to your point, people look at you and think that you have this, and not just you in general, but people think you may have this picture perfect life. And I tell a lot of people, social media is great, but it's such a highlight reel a lot of times. Like, you see things, do not compare yourself to things you see on social media, because it will really disappoint you, and that may not be the reality. And how do you balance something like that in this type of industry that you're in, where you can remind people that, hey, everything you see on social media is not something for you to compare yourself to, or to make you feel shamed about different things?
I mean, I try to do it as balanced as possible. Like, I'll show up with no makeup on. I'll also show up, all done up and feeling really like, oh, look at me, I'm a superstar right now. I will post when I'm feeling motivated and inspired. I'll also share in moments of vulnerability and sadness. And there's still, I can't share all of me on the internet. So we get to remember that it's a piece of a person. And for me, it's like, what I look for when I follow someone is, do they embody the life that I desire to live?
Wow.
And like, what am I there? What's my intention there? Maybe I follow an Instagram account because they're really funny and I get a lot of joy and I giggle and I can zone out and just laugh at their funny videos. And that's my intention for being there. Or if it's someone in the personal development world, I'm not going to take advice and guidance of anyone that I don't aspire to live a life like. Like, I love the saying, don't take advice off broken, unhappy people. So, I mean, I love my dad, but I don't love his relationship with money. So even though he tries to give me his guidance around my finances all the time, it's like, I love you, Dad, and I don't respect your relationship with money. So I'm not going to take that on. The same as when I land on someone's Instagram page. Do I want to live a life like them? If no, I'm probably not going to listen to what they have to say, and I'm most likely not going to follow them. And so just being I try to be super conscious of that for myself in terms of who I follow, and I show up as authentically as possible, and always remember that there's a device between me and the other side of the screen. And so me and my fullness and my bigness is me in person, and me on the internet is as ruthlessly honest and authentic as I can be. And there's always going to be a limit to that as well.
I love that. And I like what you bring an example up about your dad, because you said earlier about boundaries. And a lot of times, even with our own families, we have to set those boundaries. And it's okay to not be in alignment with someone else's beliefs or philosophies. And you can still have a respectful relationship and have differences. So have you had to mend a lot of relationships now that you're all about radical self-awareness? Are there people that are still kind of like ones that you may not be able to eliminate out your life, and they still have like this victimization mentality? How do you navigate that, and how do you communicate with people like that?
I mean, I'm pretty cutthroat and protective of my and I have a quite low tolerance for bullshit. I do have certain boundaries. Standards is a big part of my teaching, and I have a standard around the loved ones and the people in my life. They celebrate me for all of me, and vice versa, which means that if there's certain ways in which I show up that people don't appreciate or have criticism around, I have minimal time for that. So I can lovingly appreciate you from afar, but you probably won't be in my circle and quite close to me.
You have to you have to protect your peace. So I think that's powerful.
Absolutely. I have so many different vehicles that I work with, including energetic cord cutting. That can be a private ceremony that we do by ourselves if that isn't available to have with the person. Otherwise, I have different kind of conversations that we have. I believe that we have leaking energy to people that have been in our lives. It could be a 6-year-old in the playground yelling at us that we were weird and no one wants to be friends with us. And we still have that energetic attachment to that person. And I believe it's powerful to cut that cord rather than keeping it intertwined. So I have different processes throughout my coaching that I don't just coach on it, I practice it myself. So I believe that voice activation and having those uncomfortable conversations with the people we still hold those energy attachments towards is so important for our clear energy and our freedom. And once we create that space, I believe that we can't like pile goodness and on top of all the crap. So if we're filled with resentment and also all ineffective thoughts from the past and people who've hurt and harmed us or what we've done to someone else, while that's still in our energetic body, there's less space for all the goodness that we're cultivating and calling forward. So I believe in uprooting all of that, clearing it, having the conversations, doing the energetic cord cutting, confronting all of your ineffective beliefs, really going to the root of it. And then once we do that, now we have the space for all the goodness that we want to bring in.
Wow, it's like taking out the trash, right? You have to empty the trash so that new stuff can fill in. Now, tell us a little bit about the energy cord cutting. What is that, an actual, like you take a physical cord and you're putting the energy into it and cut it, or what does that entail?
No. It's either a verbal or a written process.
Oh, okay.
And so it goes through so many different emotions of like anger and rejection, betrayal, abandonment, and all the frustrations, essentially giving the woman or the man the permission to unconsciously express everything that's been held within, which could be, all the frustration and all the pain and all the things that we've wanted to say that we don't, because in society that would be angry, and we class anger as a bad emotion when anger is really a beautiful emotion. There's a really effective and safe way to channel anger and aggression. And then once all the anger is actually given permission to come out of the human, because a lot of the stuff, like I believe that a lot of us don't actually experience anxiety, but we trap these emotions in. And then we get the experience of anxiousness because we've never given ourselves freedom to like let it out. And so I hold space for my clients and give them permission to say the unconscious things that they would judge themselves for saying perhaps anywhere else. Once they get that out, underlying all of that is often a lot of sadness and like a wounded little girl or little boy being like, why wasn't I good enough to be loved? Or why did you hurt me? Or I just loved you. Why did you treat me that way? And so we really give that little boy or girl permission to say all those sad, vulnerable things. Like, why didn't my dad love me? My dad was not talking about me, but the hypothetical here. Why didn't my dad love me? My mum or my granddad, or why did you hurt and harm me? Like giving that permission. And then so there's just so many elements of it, and it's really beautiful.
Wow, that is so, powerful. I love how you said that anger is a great emotion that you can channel properly. And your point about anxiety is so true. A lot of times anxiety is a byproduct of something deeper that is in your subconscious that you have not dealt with. I am just like fascinated. So I'm sure you have a lot of tears, a lot of breakthroughs during your coaching. Do you do, and I know with Corona and things just with the pandemic, are most of your coaching sessions always virtual, or they become virtual since the pandemic has changed?
They've always been virtual. Majority of my clients, so Australia is obviously a really big country. I'm on one side. Majority of my clients are on the opposite, or in America or the UK. So most of it is via Zoom. I have a few one-on-one clients in Perth who like to see me in person, but the rest of it's all Zoom link.
So what are some of your tips to communicate virtually, like to be so vulnerable? It's amazing. Not to mention you have such a magnetic energy, so I'm sure that helps. And your beautiful eyes and eyebrows. But like, how do you get people to really be authentic, especially online?
I believe that I have a natural energy that creates that safe space for people to do that. I let my clients know that when you're with me, this is a safe testing grounds for that which you would like to practice as to how you would show up to your life. Wow. So those things, it's easy for you to have a vulnerable conversation with me because I'm emotionally unattached to the story and the situation. Yeah. So it could be what's going on with your partner and there's things that you haven't shared with him or asked of him or declared to him, and you get to practice with me and go into also, if there's things that we haven't expressed to someone, we really get to go into like why the belief is that you're unworthy to share the truth of you with someone and be so fully exposed and seen. And with that permission from me to be all of you with me, where it's not going to go anywhere else other than with us. You have full permission to take our conversation wherever you like with all of your friends, put it on the internet. I don't care. But with me, it goes nowhere else other than between you and I. And so that is really freeing for someone to feel so seen, so witnessed, full permission. Like where in this life do we get full permission just to be like, all of you is welcome here no matter what. No matter what unconscious thought you have, it can be like, F you, I hate you, you treated me like shit, I wish you would die. Like just whatever comes out of your mouth, whatever is stored in your pain body, I give them permission to say it. without, and then when I receive it, it's not like, oh, I'm going to judge you. I can't believe you just said that thing. It's like, that's beautiful. I like celebrate their expression. And what do we want to do with that? What's the outcome here? Why are you feeling that way? What's the belief system that we've created? What's being stored in your pain body right now? It's deeply healing. So I think it's just allowing my clients to have full permission to play how they would like to show up to the real world.
I love it. In my book, When Life Gives You Lemons, Stop Making Lemonade, it talks about the lemons in your life are the sour points and challenges. And what you're talking about is truly introspective lemons. These are the things that are inside of us that keep causing sour points and issues. And you keep getting all these challenges. And to your point, when you have that moment with yourself, like, why do these things keep happening to me? What am I manifesting? And it's so true, having that inner healing and talking. I mean, what a great service you're doing for the world, Bek, to give people that safe space. And I just absolutely am so glad that you could be here. I know we're coming up at the top of the hour. So thank you all who have been listening. If you have any additional questions, we can take a few quick questions, but we'd love for you to connect with Bek. She's on Instagram and pretty much all social media outlets, I'm sure. If they want to learn more about your coaching and things, is it best to go on your Instagram, or do you have a website that everyone can reach?
Come over to my IG, because that's where I'm most active, and I handle my IG account. It will always be me that's responding. So no virtual assistant. That's just always authentically me. And that's where then we can create a really open dialogue that's the both of us.
Wow. So what's next? Now that you've come to the self-realization, you have all this growth, you're helping people. What are some of the things next for you? Like, what are your next objectives that you want to achieve?
So at the moment, my biggest focus is just radical transformation for women and men through my coaching business, mainly women. But I do, like I said, I still have men that like, you say all these things and I know you're talking to women, but I really resonate with what you say. I hold powerful space for men, but my passion is to show up for the version of me that I searched for on the internet and could never find. I have 2 different programs. I have a mastermind called True Transformation. I have a 6-week Cultivate Inner Confidence program called Being Brilliant. And really what's next for me is to teach women how to truly come back to themselves, reclaim their power, and see them step into their own self-leadership and start transforming the lives of everyone around them. I mean, for a long time, I was so rejected coaching coaches. There was an element of me that was like, I don't coach coaches. I just coach normal human beings that have never experienced personal development before. But really what I think I actually do is they are normal beings who have never experienced personal development before. And then they're actually like, I have a bigger purpose in what I'm currently doing. And I want to support my community as well. And I see that through their vulnerability, they open the door for vulnerability for so many people in their own space. And that's really just what I keep seeing happening in my world, just on a bigger and bigger and bigger level. And as I grow and my container expands, I know that comes with so many more women and so many more women changing the lives of so many other more women.
Yes.
And keep going. And I have no expectations on it and no limitations, just truly stepping into my own personal freedom and continually revealing myself and others.
Well, I tell you, your vulnerability that has freed you is so contagious. We can feel it. I just love it. And for those of you, we literally have this, our first conversation we've had. We've just been discussing on social media, and I just loved everything you stood for. So I really appreciate you being so real, so open, and sharing your light with the world. As we wrap up, are there any final comments or encouragement that you want to give to everyone?
Oh, the thing that I've been saying, I have like one belief that I always anchor back into, especially when on a personality level, ego's like, why is this happening to me? And I always ask my client, like, what is a belief about your life that you can always anchor back into, especially when shit's hitting the fan?
Yes.
And mine is, what's meant for me never misses me.
Wow.
And whenever I say that, it brings me back into like a complete place of like, this is my peace, because it means all the good stuff. What's meant for me never misses me. It means all the quote unquote bad stuff. What's meant for me never misses me. This was always, 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 every part of my path, exactly as it's happened, was always meant for me. And it will always find a place for me.
I love that, because mine is always in the right place at the right time, in the right state of mind. Always in the right place at the right time.
I love that.
As I'm always saying that, especially if I feel anxious about something and I'm worried about it, then I'm like, always in the right place at the right time, the right state of mind. So I love you.
I love that so much.
Oh my gosh. Well, Bek, it has been an absolute pleasure. I know it's still cracking on. Have you had coffee or breakfast yet this morning?
I've had a coffee. I'm like halfway through my call, I was like, yes, coffee.
Yes, great. Well, thank you for sharing your time and your talents with us. As I said, connect with her on IG. We'll have this interview reposted. We appreciate you, and I look forward to continue to see you. Like, I'm glad our lives have passed, and there's no coincidence that we have connected. So, looking forward to doing some great things in the future too.
Amazing. Thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you. And thank you all for tuning in to this edition of Speaker Circle, where we're all about growth and development. Have an amazing evening, everybody, and morning if you're in Australia.